Let's move on and now take a look at the first wide-angle story on the show. The mess that's unfolded on the streets of UK. The last riot that took place in London was in 2011. It was triggered when a black man was killed by the London police. But in 13 years, a lot has happened and a lot has changed in England. Its polity is now fractured. The divisions on immigration have only sharpened. And while the UK may have exited the EU, it is not insulated from the undercurrent of the anti-immigrant sentiment that is brewing across Europe. The attacks on immigrants and the far-right protests that spread to 17 cities is testimony to just that. 110 police officers were injured. The riots also led to widespread protests, 483 arrests, 149 charged. The visuals of looting and riots in a first world country led to India issuing an advisory for its citizens. But the larger issue is immigration and how it's a political hot potato now in the UK. Now, whether it's for Keir Starmer or his predecessor, Rishi Sunak, immigration reform is the biggest policy area that is yet to be addressed. Indians form the largest chunk of immigrants. So whatever Keir Starmer decides impacts us. How UK decides on this issue has huge ramifications for us. But take a look at this report to know how immigration issue has been brewing for the last 15 years with absolutely no solution for government after government. It was in 2010 that the then Prime Minister of UK, David Cameron, had pledged to cut net migration in the country to less than 1 lakh, a figure he never managed to come anywhere close to. 6 years later, Cameron took the Brexit gamble, in the hope that UK would be able to take control of its borders. But as he left 10 Downing Street for better times, record migration levels caused the system to burst at its seams. In 2016, net migration to the UK stood at 2.52 lakh. This figure climbed to 4.66 lakhs by 2021 and jumped to 7.45 lakh by 2022. Clearly, Rishi Sunak's Stop the Boats campaign did little to actually stop the boats, even though he sent those coming from Rwanda route back. Sunak also stopped international students from bringing family members. He hiked salary threshold for skilled worker visas by 50% and restricted care workers from bringing in their dependents. But the failure of these policies had been a precipitating factor in birthing political parties like Reform for UK, a far-right political outfit that is against immigration. Britain spends £3 billion annually on processing asylum applications and £8 million daily in housing migrants in hotels that were attacked by rioters. It was one such hotel that was attacked and started the cycle of arson and violence, and has blurred the lines between legitimate immigration and asylum seekers. Where it ends will decide the fate of a lot of Indians that legitimately move to the UK every year. Facing a crisis of this magnitude within his very first month in office, Prime Minister Keir Starmer may choose to continue with the existing measures that were put in place by the previous Sunak government. Ad hoc measures to check illegal immigration do little to really address the larger problem, and which is that UK is facing skilled labour shortage that is impacting sector after sector, and a continued status quo hits India hard. India constitutes the largest category of immigrants. This means that the graduate route will remain unchanged, but the wait for lakhs of students and care workers to bring in their dependents to the UK may grow longer. Starmer proposed a reform, but what the UK may get is continuation of the previous government's ad hoc measures. And what is needed is a comprehensive look at UK's immigration programme. Second wide angle on the show. Well, it's been less than 3 weeks that Joe Biden exited the race and instead endorsed his Vice President Kamala Harris for the top job. Harris's Vice President candidate is now Tim Walz. In fact, his selection has not caused any caught any by surprise. He's a low-profile Midwesterner. He's a former high school teacher. Tim Walz will remain in the shadow of Kamala Harris. And just like Harris, not much is known about Tim Walz and his foreign policy stances, particularly on thorny issues like the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict or the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which is in its third year. And that's our second wide-angle story this week. What should the world expect from Team Harris? Will Team Harris be a continuation of the Biden foreign policy agenda, or could there be some major changes to that?